Hey, it's Tony at ExecuNet. Thanks for tuning in today. Writing and publishing a book is an important goal for many CEOs and C-suite executives. If you believe you've got a book in you or an actual manuscript in the drawer, you'll be very interested in listening to what my guest has to say. She's Marissa Eigenbrud. Marissa is Vice President of Smith Publicity, the industry's leading book publicity and marketing agency. She, along with her creative and talented team, have partnered with thousands of experts, authors, and publishers to share their innovative and unique voices through the media and beyond. The team at Smith targets both top national media as well as key trade outlets to develop diverse, lasting platforms for their clients. You can learn more at www.smithpublicity.com and connect with Marissa on LinkedIn. But here she is in person. Marissa, hi, how are you?
Hi, Tony. Thanks so much for having me today.
My pleasure. Good to be talking to you. So
Great
let's
talking to you.
jump right into it. What are the
Yes,
benefits of writing a book as a business expert slash thought leader? What are some
mhm.
of their goals, in other words?
Sure, absolutely. So, you know, each individual that we work with seems to have, slightly different goals, of course, based on whether or not they're part of an organization or if they happen to have their own business. Maybe they're more of a consultant or speaker. And so there's a lot of different benefits that can come with writing a book. But, one of them that I think is really important to highlight is that a business book separates you from others in your field. It really helps you to stand out as a thought leader, adds a new layer of credentials beyond the great, degrees that might be on the wall or the years of experience that someone has. It's really important to think about it as another layer of those credentials, and one that, yes, there's a lot of books out there, but a lot of people have, this wonderful, tool at their resource to add to their arsenal of their platform. So I think that's a really important one to highlight. And what's also interesting that I found in many, conversations with business authors and other thought leaders in the nonfiction space, those who are in finance or in HR, whatever it might be, I asked them, what are your goals? That's so important to our strategies that we develop here at Smith. And I'm really surprised by how many individuals don't lead with book sales. They don't lead with more speaking or more clients. They want to educate and help people. That
Mhm.
is one of the top goals that's often shared with me. And I love to hear that because, there's so much that can come from the experiences someone has, the research they've done, the knowledge they've gleaned from working with top executives, top clients, top companies, and being able to get really excited about that information they've learned and share it with others. um, is a really, it's kind of heartwarming to think about. That's a big goal for someone. So if you kind of have something that, this is awesome, I really want to share this with others, a book can be a great way to go ahead and help educate individuals on, on a more massive platform, if you will. And then, of course, it can, go to the other goals. It can increase other opportunities, new speaking, new clientele, maybe a new position, even, a new layer of credential to add to a raise or, a promotion someone's been really working toward. So lots of great benefits overall.
Awesome. So tell me in a few words how Smith Publicity partners with would-be experts, thought leaders to help them achieve those goals.
Mhm. Sure. So I think one of the most important things, and it's the key word through everything that we do, is collaboration. That starts from day one in getting to know an author and their project. And that can be collaboration with the author directly, really working to kind of iron out the messaging together, iron out the key audiences that they want to be reaching out to. But it's also collaboration with their teams involved. So that
Mhm.
can be a traditional publisher or other type of publishing entity. It can be, maybe they have a social media person they work with. We've worked with other individuals who are part of a bigger organization, and we need to work with their internal communications teams too. So, that collaboration in ensuring that we're all on the same page with messaging, timelines, goals, expectations is really important to our work, and we emphasize that from the very beginning. What's also really important about a partnership, with us, and again with any publicity firm, or anyone who's really supporting you, I think with going into this big opportunity of releasing a book, is to really think about refining your messaging. It's what, a lot of experts come in and they have all of this knowledge that they're so excited to share. And, for the most part, you probably have anywhere from 200 to 400 pages of knowledge in this book. When it comes to the media and most audiences, you really only get a few minutes to grab their attention and to be able to kind of get them to grasp and kind of hook them into what you have to share. And so a big part of our work is really helping authors to refine what is unique, what is new, what is important about their messaging, both for their audiences and for the media.
Okay. So when an executive hears messaging, many
Yes.
immediately go to marketing and then
Mm-hmm.
make the leap to sales. They aren't all CMOs and heads of sales. So how much of the selling are they expected to be involved in, and how comfortable are they doing that kind of work?
Sure. I think, we always say you can't interview a book. I think, you can't talk to the book. The individual has to be the salesperson, has to be the spokesperson for their project, for their messaging. And so I think it's really important to make sure an author understands the role that they need to play and any expert in this process. If you're going to go after, adding a book to your resume, you have to be really ready to take on this big project that's ahead, and it's really exciting. And if you get the right teams in place, they're going to help guide you along the way to hit the right marks. But really knowing that it's not just about the individual sale, but it's also about how they're marketing themselves through their own platforms, whether it's a personal website, their social media accounts, keeping a regular blog. It's how they are, adding the book into speaking engagements they might already be doing, or, so they can sell books there too. There's lots of different ways to kind of think about utilizing the platform they already have, or important ways to think about developing it to act as your own salesperson, through this whole process. So
Mhm.
I definitely think it's a great question there, Tony, and it's really important to stay grounded in that. Even though you wrote the book, you put all this time into the book, there's a big road ahead after the book comes out to really make sure you get a chance to share it with as many people as possible.
Of course. And you touched on blogs earlier.
Hmm.
There are so many avenues to publishing today. Self-publishing is something that is on the minds of
Yeah.
many people. It seems like a less costly and more, I'll say, controlled environment for
Hmm.
someone who wants to just kind of do the launch, do everything. What would you advise corporate executives who have that manuscript in the drawer or the idea in their heads about self-publishing? What's your take on that one?
Sure. The publishing landscape offers so many options these days. It can be difficult to kind of figure out which one's right for you. So, for anyone who might be interested, I'd be happy to talk to anyone first and provide some guidance there. But, if you want to jump in and look at your options yourself first, when it comes to self-publishing, I think what's really important is, making sure that you're hitting all the benchmarks along the way, just as you would if you were traditionally published. So working with a really, great editor, and even if your friend happens to be an editor from a past life, really think about working with a book editor. There's a very different style that comes with, writing a book versus writing articles or other forms of content. So really making sure you're hitting those, adding those key professionals to the team, a great cover designer, making sure their formatting is great. So there's a lot of wonderful self-publishers out there. A couple that we love working with are Book Baby is a great one.
Mhm.
They provide a wonderful package of just lots of different options included for having that support, throughout the entire process, getting it up onto Amazon in the right way, the most strategic way. So I think it can be a really wonderful avenue for someone to explore if they have a project that they feel is very timely. They want to make sure it gets out there as soon as possible. It is definitely, like you said, the fastest turnaround option that someone has. It's also the most entrepreneurial. You you
Mhm.
you retain all of the rights, all of the control over the project. And but one other space that I love to share, especially for those in the business market, is the hybrid publisher. A lot of individuals don't even know about this term. I actually talked to someone last week, and they only thought that there was the traditional publishing route, the HarperCollins, the Simon and Schuster, the Wiley, or the self-publishing avenue through Amazon, or someone like BookBaby. And both options are great, but there's this world of hybrid publishers in the middle now too, where the author actually gets to maintain the rights to their project. They do get a good bit of control over the timelines. Takes much longer. It's a little bit more like a traditional publishing process in terms of the timeline, but they actually get this team that's already in place and doesn't require the investment of the author, the expert. But they have this team already in place there who is incredibly, well versed on their genre. They're highly experienced, and they cover all of those checkpoints along the way. They get you the editor, the cover design, the distribution channels, which you do not come with a self-publishing option outside of going through Amazon.
Mhm.
So, the self-publishing route does require you to build your own team too, while hybrid can be a really great alternative. If someone has the budget in place for it, that they can maintain those rights still, but get that kind of one-stop shop for all the help that they need.
Yeah, it seems like a viable alternative. So one last question.
Yes.
I want to write a bestseller. How do I
Uh
do that? And what are, I guess, a more specific question, Marissa, is can you bust some of the illusions around what it really means to have a bestseller? I mean, come on, what
oh.
does that really mean?
Oh, I love that you asked that, Tony. I love the opportunity to bust some of those myths because there are a lot out there. And, I think starting with the myths, I think one of the most important ones to highlight is actually that they're not all the same. So you have, your New York Times, your USA Today, there's Amazon bestseller lists. They're not all based on the same, standards or the same guidelines. So each one is kind of sometimes even curated in certain ways and and controlled and designed in certain ways. But it's very much driven typically when you're talking about your very traditional list. The New York Times bestseller typically comes up most often. The thing that really drives the chance of getting on that list is going to be pre-publication pre-orders. You see a lot of the time if Ina Garten's new cookbook is coming out, or the next book from Sheryl Sandberg is everybody's looking for that pre-order. Everyone's excited about it, and Amazon sets it up in advance. So having as many pre-orders as possible is really important to drive all of the sales to a particular week, and that's how you get on a bestseller list, is it has to be sales connected to a specific week where you have the most sales. And so if all the pre-orders happen to count toward the first week that it's out, they don't count before that. That's usually why most books end up the first week that they're out on that list. So I think that knowing that the book numbers are a big part of it, but that there are other factors, there are other curating factors that come into play with the list, and that each one operates in a little bit different ways, is important to keep in mind. For a lot of the individuals in the business space that we work with, achieving bestseller status is great for the ego. I would say it's nice to be able to say that you've reached that certain level and that certain point of your career. But we see a lot more long-term success come from the opportunity to build some fantastic media credentials, as you mentioned in the beginning, with our top tier media as well as our really focused vertical and trade markets too. So I think that it's really important to keep in mind that yes, it sounds great to be on a bestseller list, but if you really want the longevity of using a book as a business card, as part of your brand for the long term to build on new opportunities that keep going beyond the book's publication date, then really looking to some of these other initiatives and other goals can do that more so than the bestseller list can always do. And
Right.
there's not that many books on there, so and there's a lot of books that come out. So really knowing the likelihood of it, and keeping those expectations in line too. I think with yourself is really important going into it, but always shooting for the stars too. We never want to squash those goals.
Great advice. Marissa, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for making time to talk to me. Everyone listening, if you've got that book in your head or the manuscript in the drawer, connect with Marissa at Smith Publicity through LinkedIn, and I'm sure she'll talk to you some more. And good luck
Yes.
to everyone with that. And thank you. Look forward to talking
Thank
again
you,
soon.
Tony.
All right,
Have a
bye
great
for
day.
now.